Okay, so I think you guys can see me and the presentation. Okay, great. So for those that don't know me, I'm Dr. Stephanie Rubino. I'm a naturopathic doctor registered in Ontario. I'm also a health educator with Natural Factors and Assured Natural. And I've been in practice for just over 20 years, really helping a number of individuals on their health journeys and educating on, proper nutrition, lifestyle strategies, nutritional supplementation for a variety of health concerns. And of course, we'll address one particular concern tonight with regards to brain health. So I'm going to go through the presentation, and you feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat, and I will address them at the end of my presentation. And if there isn't anything that if I can't answer, then I'll certainly get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. So let's get started. So thank you for joining the webinar this evening. Our topic for tonight is nootropics for a better focus and concentration. So if you have been feeling distracted, feeling like your focus and concentration are lacking, feel like brain fog is, sort of taking over your life, then I hope our time together this evening provides some, great advice in terms of dietary and lifestyle strategies and nutritional nutrient supplementation advice to help you towards better brain health and better focus and concentration. So we're going to look at three main areas. We'll just kind of delve into the definitions of focus and concentration and why they are important. We will also discuss different foods and lifestyle steps that are needed to promote healthy cognition. And we'll definitely look at different nutrients and different nootropics that will help support brain health and cognition at any age. I want to emphasize that as well. Some of the things that we'll talk about will be great for kids and students, and definitely for individuals as they get older. Okay, so let's look at the importance of focus and concentration. We know these are cognitive skills that we use on a daily basis. We often use the terms interchangeably, but they are different. So focus is defined as the ability to direct our attention toward a specific task or activity. Definitely this involves really trying to avoid any distractions that might take our focus away. So that's the definition of focus. And then concentration is the ability to sustain our focus over an extended period of time. So how long can we stay engaged, even if a task we find is difficult or boring? I also wanted to mention, just in terms of focus, that there are different types of focus. So we have sort of external focus that can take place. So that's when we are, paying attention or focusing on things that are outside of ourselves. So that might be tasks like cooking or reading a book or being in a conversation with someone. Or we also have internal focus, where we're, looking a little bit more in terms of our thoughts and feelings and how our overall emotional health is taking place. So anyways, just wanted to differentiate those terms before we get into the other information. And another important point to kind of look at is, how do we focus? So we know that, and concentrate. So we know that our brains are definitely involved in this process, and our ability to focus and concentrate are really, dependent on the frontal lobe of the brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex. This is the area of the brain that is responsible for executive functions. So that includes focus, problem solving, speaking, thinking, and a number of other tasks that we are engaged in on a daily basis. So when we do focus, that is the area of the brain that becomes activated and really tries to help us stay on track and avoid different distractions. We know that there are other areas of the brain, as you can see in the diagram here, that are also very important for learning, short-term memory, long-term memory as well. So many of the things that we'll talk about tonight will help in terms of supporting the prefrontal cortex, but will also, be beneficial in terms of supporting overall brain health. And then it's also important to understand the role of neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are the chemicals that allow our nerve cells to communicate to one another. This will maybe bring you back to high school or university science in terms of the role of the neurotransmitters, and that we have different types of neurotransmitters that play different roles. And when it comes to focus and concentration, there are a few in particular that we focus on or to pay attention to, and that includes dopamine, acetylcholine, norepinephrine, and GABA. And these are important to know, of course, in terms of their roles, in terms of supporting our cognitive function, but we will talk about specific natural health products that will also support these neurotransmitters. And you'll have a more appreciative understanding of why we take certain nutrients and, of course, in terms of their role in, supporting those specific neurotransmitters to improve our memory, learning, focus, and concentration. Unfortunately, under certain conditions and health concerns, there can be imbalances in our neurotransmitters that can take place. So concerns such as anxiety, poor concentration, irritability, ADHD, and a number of other concerns are associated with imbalances in these neurotransmitters. And that of course, can be due to a variety of reasons: genetics, diets, of course, what we eat, our lifestyles in terms of our sleep, quality of sleep, our stress levels, exercise levels as well. We know our gut health also plays a role in terms of the balance of our neurotransmitters. A number of neurotransmitters are actually produced in the gut. So if there's any gut imbalances, gut dysbiosis, then that will definitely impact our neurotransmitter production and balance. So always looking at those areas, and that's why we when we talk about focus and concentration, it really is important to look at diet, lifestyle, along with the nutrients that we may want to incorporate. So brain fog is a big concern for many, and this is typically defined as a subjective experience of unclear thinking, lack of concentration and focus. So if we were together in person, I definitely ask you, or you can even put in the chat right now if you'd like, if you experience brain fog, have you noticed that increasing with age? There are a number of causes for brain fog, whether it's due to, recovery from a virus, hormonal changes, stress, of course, playing a role. And brain fog can be anywhere from slightly annoying, those just moments in the day where you feel like you can't think properly, but also can be quite debilitating for a number of people, especially as we get older and if we are dealing with more extensive brain concerns. But brain fog is a common symptom of neuroinflammation. And knowing and understanding neuroinflammation is going to be really important in terms of what we need to do to address concerns of lack of concentration and focus. So what is neuroinflammation? So I'm sure you're familiar with just the general term inflammation. If you ever feel like your body is inflamed or your joints are inflamed, you may experience some joint pain. So that's a typical occurrence that we are aware of, but inflammation can also affect the brain and the nervous system. So inflammation that crosses the blood-brain barrier is neuroinflammation. Again, it can affect the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system. Different inflammatory markers like IL-6, tumor necrosis factor, and others can actually impact brain function. And a number of clinical studies and research supporting the association between neuroinflammation and different cognitive impairments like difficulty concentrating, remembering, and focusing, and also the connection between neuroinflammation and neurological conditions like mood disorders such as anxiety, depression, as well as Alzheimer's. So causes of inflammation can be related to a number of factors. There's a genetic component that can take place, but there are a number of other factors or causes here that you can see that are ones that we can actually modify or try to control as much as we can. So what we eat plays a significant role in the development of neuroinflammation. Lack of exercise, not getting enough sleep. If we smoke or drink alcohol a lot, that will definitely impact our risk of neuroinflammation, our stress levels. If you do experience peripheral inflammation, so joint pain as an example, that can also lead to neuroinflammation. And then other factors such as gut dysbiosis, aging, recovery from viral infections, autoimmune diseases, mitochondrial dysfunction, the mitochondria being our energy powerhouses that are responsible for producing ATP. And if they aren't functioning properly and we're not getting ATP production, then that can be a component of neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, and then our exposure to different environmental factors such as different toxins and pollutants can also play a role. So let's go into 3 steps to promote better focus and concentration, including just eating well, hydrating, and moving. We'll talk about incorporating different nootropics, and we'll talk about the importance of sleeping better. And some of this might be common sense and information that you've heard before, but it's always good to get a reminder and just some nice pieces of information that you can incorporate into your daily routines. So let's start with eat well, hydrate, and move. So when it comes to overall brain health, there's much support in terms of following diets such as the Mediterranean diet. Here you have a balance of fruits, vegetables, good quality proteins, whole grains, fiber, etc. So as much as you can, really trying to focus on eating a whole foods diet that provides a lot of those key nutrients on a daily basis. There are specific foods that have been identified as brain protectors. That includes foods such as fish, because fish provide omega-3 fatty acids, which we will talk about in a little bit in more detail. Foods that provide antioxidants, such as berries, dark chocolate, tea, coffee, and different spices like turmeric and saffron. Avocados, which also provide some good fats, and even coconut oil, which provide medium chain triglycerides, which act as a fuel source for the brain. And then there are foods that are labeled as brain threats. So ones that will definitely impact our overall brain health, have more of a negative impact in terms of focus and concentration. And these are the foods that we want to avoid. So examples include artificial sweeteners, refined carbohydrates, so anything white, so white sugar, white flour products, trans fats, processed foods, fast foods, and alcohol. So when it comes to diet, I always try to support the 80-20 rule, where you really try to eat your best for 80% of the time. And there will be times where you can't always do it, that little bit of 20% where you kind of give yourself a little bit of leeway in terms of just balancing and being able to moderate the foods that you're taking in on a daily basis. But if you feel like you struggle with your diet and making big changes, aren't for you right now, then maybe just adding in, servings of some of these certain brain protectors is a really good way to start. Giving your body those foods that will promote better brain health. So I mentioned fish as being an important brain protector, and that is because fish provides an important nutrient, fat, known as the omega-3 fatty acids. So we have different fats, saturated fats, trans fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats. Omega-3s are an example of polyunsaturated fats. They are a foundational nutrient needed for inflammation balance. Okay, so this is going to be a key nutrient that will support and help reduce inflammation in the body. We can get omega-3 fatty acids from different foods, as I mentioned, fish. There's different plant sources we'll talk about in the next slide. The concern is, of course, that we are not getting enough omega-3 from diet alone. So really looking at additional sources, particularly through supplemental sources, may be needed in order to get the amount of omega-3s we need in order to reduce inflammation. And the general recommendation when it comes to omega-3s is getting around 2 to 4 grams of EPA and DHA per day, again, to help reduce inflammation. The fats and omegas are really important in terms of making up our overall brain. So fat makes up about 60% of the brain. So when you hear that number, that actually refers to when they look at the dry weight of the brain. So 60% of the dry weight of the brain is fat, and 40% of that is in the form of DHA, which is a type of omega-3 fatty acid. And both EPA, which is another type of omega-3, and DHA are very important for supporting memory and cognition. We know when there's deficiency of those nutrients, that can impact our learning and memory and focus. We want to make sure those levels are up for individuals of all ages. Omega-3s are even important for babies and children, teenagers, and definitely as we get older. And we want to make sure we have an appropriate balance between our omega-3 and our omega-6 fatty acids. Oftentimes people have too much omega-6, especially if they're eating a lot of packaged processed foods and taking in refined oils. In that case, we definitely want to look at reducing those omega-6 fatty acids and increasing those omega-3 fatty acids. That again will play a key role in terms of supporting the structure and function of the brain, and will also help in terms of reducing inflammation. And there has been some research that's showing that the omega-3s can also support the hippocampus. This is the area of the brain that is responsible for learning and memory. So how can we get omega-3 fatty acids? So diet is key here, of course. We want to look at consuming cold water fish, which are typically rich in EPA and DHA. That can include sardines, anchovies, mackerel, salmon. There are plant sources that are rich in omega-3s like walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds. So adding these foods to smoothies, salads, etc., is a nice way to increase those omega-3s. And then, looking potentially at incorporating also omega-3 supplements. Again, we typically don't get enough omega-3s through diet alone, unfortunately, especially if we're not eating these foods on a daily basis. So really looking towards using, excuse me, using omega-3 supplements can really help avoid deficiency of this important nutrient. There are different omega-3 supplements available. I know there's quite a number of them. You can find them in, liquid form, chewable capsules, and soft gels as well. What you choose really, is important to speak to your healthcare provider in terms of what dosage you need in terms of omega-3s, and then what delivery format would you be most compliant with. Some people love the oils. It's a really easy way to take it. Some people would prefer to use soft gels. But what is important when it comes to omega-3s is what you should be looking for, okay? So when it comes to omega-3 supplements, make sure you use supplements that use ingredients, especially fish, and if they're using an algae source, that have been harvested sustainably with a low environmental impact. Also ensure that the specific omega-3s are standardized so that the EPA and DHA levels are standardized. So you're getting a consistent amount of those omega-3s per serving. Also, we know just in terms of questioning the quality of fish that we might be getting, especially in terms of supplements, make sure that the omega-3 supplement has been tested and third-party tested. So not just the company saying that the product is pure and potent, but third-party testing has been done that has been tested the fish oil for different heavy metals, PCBs, and other contaminants. And then just another feature, if you are looking for a soft gel format, one example I have here is the Regeneralife Omega-3 Ultra Strength. This omega-3 is provided in the Intera Pure soft gels. These are just soft gels that allow the soft gel to be broken down later in the digestive tract, in the intestinal area, and that will help to avoid any fishy burps that people experience with the typical omega-3 supplements. But if you actually have a high quality fish oil, oftentimes that fishy burp taste shouldn't happen. Okay, keeping your brain hydrated is also very important. So here, about 75% of the brain, and that refers to the total brain weight. So when we looked at the figure with the fats, that referred to when that was the dry weight of the brain. This is total weight of the brain. About 75% of the brain is actually made up of water. And even mild levels of dehydration, just as little as 2%, can definitely impact our mental performance. So if you've ever gone through the day not drinking enough water, you can definitely tell that impacts your overall energy level and your ability to focus and concentrate on different tasks. We know that dehydration can lead to inflammation, fatigue, dizziness, again, poor concentration and reduced cognitive abilities. So, and water intake, really, we can have sort of a general recommendation, drink 1.5 to 2 liters per day. Oftentimes I base water intake on an individual's weight. So taking the weight in pounds, dividing by 2, and that's the number of ounces that you should be drinking in a day. But again, you can speak to your healthcare provider to find out how much water you should be drinking. And if you're not used to drinking a lot of water, then it should be a slow increase. I often advise, increase by a glass every week so you can, get your body adjusted to that increased fluid intake. And then movement, so important for better brain health and focus and concentration. We know exercise benefits our ability to make more cellular energy, or ATP. Those are the energy molecules that are produced in the mitochondria. And we need that ATP, especially as we get older and our mitochondria aren't functioning as well as they should. We know exercise is key in terms of balancing those neurotransmitters that we talked about. So dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, and others. Exercise will be key in terms of balancing those brain chemicals. And we also know exercise is anti-inflammatory. So key when it comes to, again, reducing that peripheral and neural inflammation that can take place in the body. And exercise is really important in terms of improving our sleep quality and reducing the impact that stress has on our body and has on our brains. And when it comes to exercise, I know this can be a challenging area for many people. I just really encourage people to engage in activities that they enjoy. It can be a simple walk and stretching. If you're into, running, cycling, those are great activities as well. Just really trying to balance, your cardiovascular and strength training exercises, especially as you get older, okay? But really trying to get that movement in there as much as you can. So let's move on to incorporating nootropics. So what are nootropics? So these are, sort of smart drugs or cognitive enhancers. So the smart drugs are in quotations, but they will be, for our purposes, nutrients that have been shown to improve learning and concentration, attention, memory, focus, etc. They will work in different ways, in terms of improving blood flow to the brain and oxygen supply to the brain. Nootropics will also help in terms of regulating neurotransmitter activity and will also play a role in terms of reducing inflammation and providing neuroprotection. So, protecting the brain and the nervous system from any, negative influences that might impact brain health. There are a number of different nootropics that are available. So omega-3s, so we just talked about the omega-3s, and I did not mention that they are an example of nootropic, but they are. Because they will work again in terms of reducing inflammation and supporting learning and memory, etc. So omega-3s are an example. We have others here: L-theanine, GABA, magnesium, L-threonate. Those are the ones that I will talk about tonight. But there are others, as you can see: ashwagandha and maca, PEA, caffeine, alpha-GPC. So, and this is not even a complete list. So a number of nootropics that are available, and you can get them just sort of on their own individually or in combination in different products. And again, this is where I will, really emphasize before starting any supplements, just really speak to your healthcare provider to see, which ones would be appropriate for you. Okay, so we're going to delve into a little bit more specifics with respect to L-theanine, GABA, and magnesium L-threonate. So L-theanine is an amino acid that has been found naturally occurring in green tea. It has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier. So the blood-brain barrier is the brain's filter barrier that allows things to go in and also blocks things and compounds from going in and vice versa. So it's really that protective barrier for the brain. The use of L-theanine has been shown to increase alpha brain waves, and those are the brain waves that promote a awake and relaxed state and are linked to creative thinking. So we have brain waves that are more active, that kind of keep us awake and active, and then of course the alpha brain waves will help in terms of staying awake but in a relaxed state. L-theanine has also been shown to impact some of those neurotransmitters that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So L-theanine can increase serotonin, so impacting our overall mood and sleep, can increase GABA, which we'll talk about more, but which is sort of our relaxing neurotransmitter that helps to calm the body. And dopamine, we know, is really important in terms of attention and concentration. And so L-theanine is typically used to help support concerns with respect to anxiety, learning, mood, and focus. When you drink a cup of green tea, you get a small amount of L-theanine. I think it's approximately 25 milligrams of L-theanine per cup of green tea. When we use L-theanine for more specific health concerns, it's definitely at a higher dosage. That's a lot of green tea to drink. So potentially looking at using it in a supplement form as needed is one potential strategy. So you can find L-theanine in the mental calmness product from Natural Factors. It provides L-theanine sourced from green tea and is used to help reduce feelings of stress and nervousness. It can help improve concentration and mental clarity, promote relaxation, and does not cause drowsiness and is not habit forming. So you can use this product as needed. And usually when you take L-theanine, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes for benefits to be seen. So some people will use it as needed. Some people will use it a little bit more on an ongoing basis, especially if they are in a period where they're finding that maybe stress levels are high, sleep isn't that great, they're noticing their ability to stay on task is diminished. A lot of people turn towards coffee, of course, in terms of helping to improve focus and concentration. And caffeine, as I mentioned in one of the previous slides, is a nootropic, can improve focus and concentration. And there is research showing that the combination of L-theanine and caffeine can promote cognition, motivation, and attention. And this particular study here looked at using around 50 milligrams of caffeine. That's about half a cup of coffee per day, along with 100 milligrams of L-theanine. And they found that the combination of the two did lead to improved speed and accuracy on attention switching tasks, reduce distractibility on memory tasks, and improve performance on cognitively demanding tasks. So if you do find you turn towards coffee to improve your ability to stay on task on a daily basis, that is a potential, but the concern is when we consume too much coffee, of course, that can have a negative impact on overall health. So although you can still have a little bit of coffee, you can use something like L-theanine to really elevate your ability to stay on task and maintain your concentration. Another nootropic is GABA, or gamma aminobutyric acid. And this is an important inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain. And GABA is often described like the brakes on a car. So when we are stressed out, the brain typically responds by producing more GABA in order to sort of pump the brakes or slow down our response to stress and any feelings of nervousness or anxiety that we may be having. GABA works in the same way as L-theanine. It's just a little bit stronger. So it does help in terms of increasing those alpha brain waves in order to promote a relaxed, alert state. And it also decreases the production of beta brain waves. And those are the brain waves that are responsible for hyperactivity and nervousness and a scattered thought. So works similarly again to L-theanine. It's just a little bit stronger in terms of its impact. You can find GABA in different supplements. So here's one example. We have the 100% natural GABA from Natural Factors. This is a natural source of GABA, specifically pharma GABA. So, be careful that you are not using a synthetic source of GABA. This is specifically produced by or with the beneficial lactic acid bacteria that's commonly used to make kimchi. And GABA as an inhibitory neurotransmitter will help in terms of promoting relaxation, reducing nervousness, improving mental clarity and will not cause drowsiness. So it is something that you could use before bed, but you could also use during the day. And the effects with GABA are typically seen within 15 to 30 minutes of taking it, and also is not habit forming. And then in terms of dosage, again, really depends. I encourage you to, speak to your healthcare provider in terms of what you might need if you're using this product on a as needed basis, or if you might be using it a little bit more long-term, you can get some direction in terms of the specific dosage that would benefit you. And the last nootropic that we'll take a look at is magnesium L-threonate. I know the benefits of magnesium are endless. We know it's a very important nutrient for overall health. And a lot of us are prone to magnesium deficiency because we are not getting enough from our diets. If we are big coffee drinkers, that will deplete magnesium. Certain medications will deplete magnesium. We also know stress will deplete magnesium. So it's definitely a deficiency that is quite common for a number of people. And having a deficiency in magnesium can lead to brain fog, anxiety, and depression. And really ensuring we have adequate levels can go a long way in terms of supporting our cognition and lowering our risk of dementia. The one thing about magnesium is that in order to improve its bioavailability and absorption, it's usually bound to another compound. So you'll see different forms of magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, magnesium bisglycinate. But most of these forms of magnesium cannot actually cross the blood-brain barrier. There's only one form that has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier, and that's magnesium L-threonate. So it will work in terms of increasing concentrations of magnesium in the brain, which will be beneficial in terms of increasing synaptic density. So the synapses are the areas where the nerve cells communicate to each other, and will also be beneficial with respect to improving cognitive function. So one form of magnesium L-threonate is magtine. So this is a research form of magnesium L-threonate that has been shown to be, increase magnesium levels in the brain, again, to improve synaptic density and benefit overall cognition. So some of the research with magtine has shown its ability to improve cognitive function, to reduce cognitive fluctuation. So those are those bad days when we feel we're experiencing that brain fog and having difficulty with concentration, et cetera. Important in terms of restoring impaired executive function. So again, our ability to focus and concentrate, et cetera. And magtine has also been shown to improve performance speed. So that just refers to the combination of executive function and cognitive processing by about 20%. So great improvement in terms of benefiting overall brain health, and specifically research showing that magtine can reduce brain aging by about 9 years after 12 weeks of supplementation. So really promising. If you're looking for a specific magnesium that will support brain health, then looking at magnesium threonate can be beneficial. So one particular product that provides magtine is the magnesium L-threonate from the Regeneralife line. The recommendation is to take 3 capsules. This is equivalent to taking 2,000 milligrams of magtine, and that's the dosage that has been used in the clinical research, looking at the benefits of magnesium L-threonate and cognitive function, especially as we get older. So anyone that needs general support for focus and memory, and individuals that are noticing, lapses in focus and memory as they get older, would definitely benefit from this type of magnesium. And the last step we'll take a look at is sleeping better for improved focus and concentration. So I always find when I'm working with patients, if sleep is off, then that will definitely impact overall health and definitely how you function during the day. So oftentimes I really try my best to focus on sleep quality and really make sure individuals are getting a good night's rest. So we know sleep disturbances, whether it's difficulty falling asleep or if you're having, frequent awakenings during the evening, that can definitely impact brain function. It can lead to poor brain clearance. I'll describe that, what that means in the next slide. And it can increase your risk of developing or exacerbating neurodegenerative diseases. So when we sleep and we go through different stages of sleep during the night, the deepest stage of sleep, or the fourth stage of sleep, is sort of the time where our lymphatic system plays a role in terms of clearing out toxins in the nervous system and the brain. But if we are not getting that deep sleep, then unfortunately we're missing that brain clearance stage, and that can definitely contribute to brain disease. The different factors that can impact brain clearance and lead to insufficient brain clearance, so sleep disturbances, stress, hypertension, high levels of alcohol can impact. But if we want to have effective brain clearance taking place, then getting proper sleep, improving our vascular health, and improving overall blood flow is very important. Exercising and only having low to no levels of alcohol is very, very important. There's a number of things we can do when it comes to supporting sleep. So definitely eliminating inhibitors of sleep. So big one is, coffee and alcohol. Try not to have those late in the day because they will impact your sleep quality. Establishing a bedtime routine. There's a lot that can be done here. So starting with how you get ready for bed, your typical tasks that you do when you're getting ready for bed, having a cup of tea, journaling, shutting down those electronic devices before bedtime, all very important. Maybe taking a relaxing bath. Can also be something that you can include into your bedtime routine. If you get hungry before bed, really be aware of what you are consuming. I know a lot of people get the munchies in the evening and may tend towards grabbing something, like chips or ice cream because they feel like they want something. Some type of treat before bed that will just wreak havoc on your blood sugar levels throughout the night. So definitely, if you are looking to have a snack before bed, make sure it is a high protein snack if you needed to include a complex carbohydrate, you can, but really make it protein based in order to stabilize those blood sugar levels throughout the night. But it really is beneficial to stop eating at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime if you can. Creating a relaxed sleep environment. So typical things here include a, dark room. So not even, lights from an alarm clock or electronic devices, use blackout shades if you can to prevent any light coming in from the outside. Minimal noise disruption, cool temperature room, also very important in terms of promoting a relaxed sleep environment. And then using different natural sleep aids. So magnesium is great for this in terms of helping, relax the muscles and promote better sleep. Melatonin is a common example of a, supplement that's typically used to improve sleep quality and sleep duration, but there are others. So just to bring it back to, we talked about the use of GABA and L-theanine as nootropics, and actually the combination of the two has also been shown to improve overall sleep quality and duration. So if you do incorporate GABA or L-theanine, you know that they will also impact your overall sleep quality at night. And then, as I mentioned, different nutrients like magnesium, melatonin, and again, L-theanine and pharma-GABA, all beneficial. So here we have the stress relaxed nighttime magnesium bisglycinate formula, which includes melatonin, GABA, and L-theanine. It's available in a powder. It's also available in capsules. So this provides some of the, I think, more popular nutrients that are used to promote sleep, maintain circadian rhythm, and again, promote those and support those relaxation brain waves. So this is an option if you are looking for a sleep support product. Okay, and just to conclude everything, so just bringing it all together. So what can you do to support better focus and concentration? So we talked about the importance of eating well, making sure you're hydrated, drinking enough water throughout the day, and moving, using or engaging in different activities that you enjoy. Incorporating different nootropics. So some of the examples we talked about tonight included L-theanine, GABA, and magnesium L-threonate, but there were others like ashwagandha and maca, etc. So, really talking to your healthcare provider in terms of what nootropics may be beneficial for you specifically. Really work on restoring your sleep. So if you are not getting 7 to 9 hours per night of sleep, then really identifying why you are not and making, important changes to make sure you are getting sufficient sleep, because that alone can go a long way in terms of supporting your focus and concentration. And then some other tips you may want to incorporate. I know, just being overwhelmed with the number of things we sort of need to do on a daily basis can definitely impact our focus and brain function. So I just wanted to include some other tips that you can sort of incorporate that you may find beneficial. So if you feel like your plate is loaded and there's just too much to do and that is impacting your focus and concentration, then, really take the time to prioritize the tasks that you need to pay attention to and organize what you should be doing first. Minimize multitasking. That can really throw off our focus and concentration, can be very distracting. Take regular breaks throughout the day. This is also important in terms of, making sure you get some movement, that you drink some water during those times, and you just really give yourself and your brain a break. Avoiding distractions as much as you can. Reward yourself. So if you're doing these things, and you notice that you've had a good day or a good morning, staying on task with something because of some of the changes you've made, then, do something for yourself that you will benefit from. And last one, of course, but not least, don't forget to breathe. I think, getting oxygen into our body can go a long way in terms of improving our focus and concentration. I also just wanted to mention in terms of when it comes to supplements, because I did talk about a few tonight, that it's really important to ensure that the supplements that you are purchasing and using are tested. We know that different ingredients can be incorporated into products that are not tested appropriately for different contaminants. So it really is important to ensure that the natural health products that you are using, can be trusted. So the products that I talked about tonight are iSura certified, and iSura is a third-party testing. It's Canada's only independent, not-for-profit natural health supplement certification organization. And iSure actually tests for over 800 contaminants. They test different pesticides, solvents, heavy metals, etc., really to ensure that the product that is being formulated is safe, potent, and meets label claims. And the standards that are set by Ashura are, definitely exceed what's set by Canada and the United States and other organizations. So when you see a natural health product that has the Ashura seal that you can see there on the screen, know that it is non-GMO compliant. It is free of contaminants, adulterants as well. It's authenticated and it is accurately labeled. And if you're interested in learning more about Ishura, I encourage you to go to the Ishura website. There's lots of great information there. So that concludes my presentation for tonight on nootropics for better focus and concentration. I do want to thank you for your time this evening, and I hope you gained some beneficial advice that will help towards better brain health. Okay, so now I'm going to move to, I know there's some questions that have been coming in and people have been raising their hands. So I am going to just take a look. And hopefully I can get through everything here. Okay, so a couple of hellos. So hello, thank you. Thanks for joining, everyone. So there's just a comment here from Jody, just thyroid. So I'm not sure what that refers to. So I don't know, Jody, if you want to specify what that's about. So just to the comments, I'm not sure if the thyroid conditions are referring to anything in particular, just that you can notice changes in terms of your focus and concentration if you do have thyroid concerns. So I'm not sure if that's what the comments are referring to. So that's definitely a hormonal, cause with respect to focus and concentration. We didn't delve into that tonight, but definitely getting your thyroid assessed and thyroid hormones tested, having your healthcare provider do an appropriate evaluation in terms of the signs and symptoms that you are experiencing, and if that could be a potential cause. So there's a question here, would stevia have the same negative effects as artificial sweeteners? Typically not. I know some people just kind of say to avoid sweet altogether, but typically stevia in small amounts should not have the same effect. Next question, is it better to have a higher ratio of DHA or EPA in your omega-3 supplements? So that really depends on what's being addressed. So we know EPA and DHA are both beneficial for brain health. DHA is specific for brain development. So you'll see in pregnancy, women are often recommended to have a higher amount of DHA, even, young children, also higher amount of DHA, and then that kind of switches as we get older. There's a comment here about menopause. Yes, menopause would definitely impact focus and concentration as well. So again, that hormonal impact, low estrogen, low testosterone will definitely impact and low progesterone will definitely impact our focus and concentration. Caffeine, bad for brain health. I know we keep hearing caffeine's good, caffeine's bad. I wouldn't, consume it in high amounts. If you do need, I know a number of people that enjoy a cup of coffee per day. I'm usually okay with 1 cup of coffee per day. Try to kind of limit it to that. Should I decrease my vitamin C daily dose intake if I take magnesium L-threonate? So it's just a component of vitamin C that's used to make the magnesium L-threonate. It's not giving you any dosing of vitamin C, so you would not need to decrease your vitamin C intake. Okay. So can you go over the difference between magnesium L-threonate and bisglycinate? So as I mentioned, so magnesium is a mineral. In order to improve its absorption and bioavailability, it needs to be bound to another molecule or compound. So you'll see different forms, as I mentioned. Magnesium can be bound to oxide, it can be bound to citrate. Bisglycinate and L-threonate are different forms. So bisglycinate and L-threonate just refer to what magnesium is bound to. So magnesium bisglycinate refers to magnesium being bound to 2-glycine amino acids. That's also a great form. It's also bioavailable. It doesn't require food to be absorbed, so you can actually take it on an empty stomach. It doesn't cause any stomach upset at all. Magnesium L-threonate is a different form, again, and it's the only form that has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier. Is the GABA in the GABA mentioned considered probiotic? No, it's not considered a probiotic. They're just using a specific probiotic strain to make the pharma-GABA, but it is not a probiotic, and there's no caution in terms of using it with immunocompromised individuals. So recommendations for brain fog and memory, sleep issues due to hypothyroidism and GERD. Okay, so that's another big topic. So I guess, a GERD, you're looking at, repairing the gut. So here we're, lots of options in terms of nutritional strategies, avoiding food sensitivities, aggravating foods that might be, aggravating the GERD, looking at nutrients that will heal the gut. So things like L-glutamine, probiotics, looking at the role of enzymes. So those are some options, and lifestyle strategies as well, also very important. And hypothyroidism, that's a big topic. I am doing a chat on hormones, including thyroid support at the end of October. So if you can join for that, we'll go through some recommendations then. But again, it would be sort of looking at thyroid support, dietary, lifestyle strategies. Thank you for all the thank yous. I really appreciate it. This presentation is being recorded, I hope. I did press the record button, so it should be available to rewatch as soon as it's ready. There is a question in terms of buying lithium orotate in Canada. I'm not familiar in terms of where they can be purchased. Can you take both magnesium L-threonate and magnesium bisglycinate together? Yes. So the magnesium L-threonate, I know I mentioned it's 2,000 milligrams of magnesium L-threonate, but in terms of elemental magnesium, it's just 144 milligrams. So you can take an additional magnesium source if you need to. Recommendations for brain fog for long COVID. So a lot of the things that we talked about tonight would be beneficial. And yeah, definitely encourage you to speak to your healthcare practitioner with respect to that concern. And yes, there will be a recording available. And okay, I think this is our last question. So fish oil capsule 1,200 milligram daily is okay. So 1,200 milligrams, just make sure that 1,200 milligrams is providing EPA and DHA. So you want to really look at the small print to see how much EPA and DHA you're getting. So as I mentioned, when it comes to inflammation, you want to get around 2 grams, at least 2 grams of EPA and DHA per dose, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so there's some questions in the Q&A. So, sorry, let me see if I can get there. Does have access to the chat. Here we go. Another section. Okay. Okay, so lots of questions here, and just in terms of omega-3s. So I think answered some of them. Plant forms of omega-3s can provide DHA and EPA. They may vary in terms of the amount. So there are algae forms that will provide EPA and DHA. I did talk about magnesium L-threonate, so hopefully that's covered. Are algae supplements better than fish oil supplements? So it's just a different form in terms of getting your EPA and DHA. They do tend to provide a lower amount of EPA and DHA. So if you are looking for a higher dosage of EPA, DHA, certainly the fish oils provide that, but the algae sources are still really suitable. And then ketones, which is produced when we take medium chain triglycerides, can be a good source for the brain. And then there's a question here: 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. That is true. And does L-theanine help produce serotonin in the brain? So L-theanine, as I mentioned, will help in terms of increasing production of dopamine and serotonin as well, and GABA. Can you mix the nootropics? So yes, you'll often find different combinations of the nootropics together in different supplements. So, but what you can use specifically, I'm just going to direct you to your healthcare provider to see which ones would be appropriate and which ones you could use together. Half-lives of nootropics really depends on the specific nutrient. And there is a question in terms of magazine helping with dementia. And yes, it would help in terms of, supporting cognition, et cetera. And there are other nutrients when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's. We didn't talk about phospholipids or B vitamins, but those are also very, very important. Magtine, yes, is the same as the magnesium L-threonate. And tonight I talked about the Natural Factors products, but there are other brands available as well. But the magnesium L-threonate was under the Regenerative Life line. That's the one that we talked about tonight. And then just in terms of how much the magnesium L-threonate is absorbed in the rest of the body. Yeah, so again, the elemental magnesium is 144 milligrams. So that is what would be absorbed through the brain. But throughout the rest of the body, that would be something that I would need to look into. And then the last question, I hope this is it. I might have to go back to the chat to see if there's anything else. But a small, safe amount per day of stevia, that's a good question. I don't have a specific amount in mind. Half a teaspoon to teaspoon per day. That's something that I can look into as well. So just in terms of the omega-3 recommendation for men specifically, so I've never seen really anything for men specifically, just in terms of specific conditions. So, there's a certain amount that should be taken during pregnancy. There's a certain amount if individuals are experiencing cardiovascular concerns. There's a specific amount, if people have inflammatory concerns. So that's typically what I go by versus what men and women should be taking. And the ratio, again, really depends on what's being treated. So sometimes you might, see recommendations for, a 3-to-1 ratio, a 2-to-1 ratio, that sort of thing. So it kind of depends on what's being supported with the omegas. Okay, guys, I think we are out of time. I'm just going to try to go back to the chat if there's anything else. A couple of comments. And that's it. Okay. Okay, great. So I think I got through everything. And again, I'll be doing another webinar at the end of the month. So hopefully you can join during that time. And again, thank you for your time this evening and have a great rest of the week.